This video will be about things I've learned over the last 20 years of trying to stay warm in the winter, and electric gloves, electric jackets, and a lot of other accessories that I've tried to use to stay warm. Some good common sense and a few pitfalls I've run into. Now, today's video is about things I've done to try to stay warm while I'm riding through the winter, trying to extend my riding season into the winter, right up to the point in time when it snows. And some of the things I've learned over the years, I've learned some do's and I've learned some don'ts. And I've been doing this for a lot of years. I've spent a lot of money I shouldn't have spent, and I'll pass on this information. I've done a lot of experiments that didn't work out, and I've done some things that work out great. So I'm going to try to pass that information on this video. If you want to extend your riding season, you want to stay a little bit warmer, but of course not everybody does. Some people are very happy that the end of September maybe, they call up Motorcycle Mall, put their bike in storage and go buy a snowmobile. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that I have the passion that even when it's cold, I get up in the morning and I want to ride, and I just have that. I don't know, maybe you have it too. So you can start with the most obvious thing, and this is true. When I was a lot younger, and we used to ski in Vermont in Mad River Glen, go up there, it'd be so freezing cold, and your hands would be cold, everything would be cold, but you were having so much fun, you didn't mind it. Now, the problem is always, problem for all of us, like it or not, we all get older. And as I've gotten older, it's more and more difficult for me to deal with riding in really cold weather and really hot weather, by the way. Both of those ends of the spectrum, my spectrum gets narrowed down. But I've found some things that have worked for me. And again, I'm going to try to share them in a relatively methodical way. And I'm not trying to badmouth anybody's products, and I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm trying to only share, and that's what this channel is always about, sharing useful information regarding motorcycles. Now, I'm going way back to the days when I used to ride two-strokes exclusively, basically RDs, and we'd try to ride into the winter, and I'd say, oh boy, these engines run great in the cold weather. Oh, because we always had them jetted rich so they wouldn't seize up. And the first thing would happen, your hands would get cold and your feet. So the first thing, of course, and this is going back many years, maybe into the 80s even, that I'd have these gloves. The gloves of the day didn't have carbon fiber. They didn't have knuckle protection. They were basically Home Depot gloves, maybe leather, maybe. But what always worked on these, what I'll call summer gloves, is we would take the things that people that worked in a restaurant used to use, those thin rubber gloves, put them on your hand, put them inside the glove. It would keep your hand a little bit warmer. But of course, later on in life, you wind up, and this is a significant thing, with real leather gloves. See, these are not all real leather. They breathe. Real leather gloves breathe a lot less. They just have pinholes. And the gauntlets. The gauntlets keep the cold air from going up your sleeve. And if you ever want to do a test for yourself, just leave the sleeves of your jacket wide open, and you see how much colder you are without a glove that has a gauntlet on. So that's kind of basic, simple stuff. But now I want to go to the next level. Now, all the bikes in my collection have a wire going directly to the battery. It serves two purposes. I run the radar detector off of this. That's the job one, of course. And in the days when I used to ride and I had electric gear that had wires on it, and I had several different sets, I'm going to show this, some of the things I had. That's how I would wire it. It has a separate fuse. But problem is, when you have several bikes, you have to have several of these wires. And at the time when I originally bought them, they didn't come with the extra wires. So by the time you bought the wires, you had a lot more money if you had multiple bikes. It's just like these caps. You get one. And then if you have 7 bikes, you got to buy 7 of these. So it's, well, goes beside the point. But if you have the bike wired, now I have 2 on every bike. One now, because they're modern bikes, they have one for the radar detector, one for if I want to use this kind of plug-in wire thing for the bike. Now, in the beginning, these lithium batteries were not available. This was the only way to do it, okay, 10, 15 years ago. I bought a bunch of jackets, boots, gloves, everything. But the downside of these, you got wires. I was like Spider-Man at the end of the day. And because what I do when I ride typically is stop 15 to 20 times, take little videos, little pictures, walk around, do things. Well, you know, if you got on a bike at your house and just drove to Perry's, then turned around and went home, it wouldn't be a problem. But it's a problem if on the way you make 15 stops to take pictures. So what happened is after a few years of doing this and living with these wire things, I wanted to have something better. Now I want to say right up front, this is a key thing for anybody that doesn't have any electrical riding gear. The riding gear that's 12 volt that you plug into the bike. On a bike like an RD that doesn't have a great charging system, if you're running a headlight and you're running several gloves and boots and a jacket, there's a good chance you're going to kill the battery. And I remember thinking when I first got the R1, I was thinking, whoa, I hope I never kill that battery. And several times I'd be wondering, is it going to kill the battery? Kill it? Never did on a modern bike. But I don't know where the break-off point is. But if you have a modern bike, a totally modern bike, I'm sure the MT-09, you could run all the electrical stuff like it. All the modern bikes seem to have a really, really heavy-duty electrical system. So, some really useful information. In the beginning, I had the gloves, and they were Tourmaster, I think, but I'm not sure. And they had the wire that went up the sleeve, and Luciano had a pair of these and several other people. And the wire used to make me crazy. Getting a wire in and wiring everything up, take the glove off, put the wire back on. So what I did, what I call upgraded. This is a more modern thing. And these are made by Mobile Warming is the name of the company. And they come with 7.4 lithium-ion batteries. And when I say there's rules of engagement for everything, there's rules of engagement for this. And what the rules of engagement for me are, this has 4 settings. So I would always determine for my ride how long I was going to ride. If I was going to go from here to Perry's, basically an hour ride, I could leave it on high. That's great. But then the ride home, I had cold hands. Well, if I put it on the medium setting, I could ride to Perry's, an hour, shut them off, turn around, come back home. It'd still be a little bit warmer. Then I decided that when I was going to go on really long rides, I just put them on low, and I realized something. This is really funny too. That it doesn't take a lot of heat in this glove to keep it warm because the gloves are insulated. So even a slightest bit, what I'm saying is even when these batteries are on their lowest setting, they put just a little bit of heat in here, but it's not bleeding off the heat as quickly as it would be if you had certainly summer gloves or winter gloves. So it's always a thing from skiing. There's always a thing. When your hands and feet get cold, you put another sweater on. Well, that's true about motorcycle riding too. Your extremities get the first thing to get cold. Now these things are really nice, and I wanted to demo this. I got the battery. They go in there. There's a little window. Of course, you charge the battery, and of course, you always put it in with the charge receptacle coming out the back. Now, a lot of people don't know this. It plugs in. You zip it shut. Now, there's a little window, and you press the setting. About 2 seconds, it goes on. Now it's on. I want to show this up close. So you can see the light. That would be the highest setting. But that's going to give you about 2 hours. They say 2 hours. I think it's more like an hour and a half and maybe less. I don't know. Because what happens with all lithium-ion batteries, as time goes by, they get older and they're less able to hold a charge. But this always worked for me. I even put a circle around it so I wouldn't forget. Put it on that setting, and for my ride, usually that would be a ride to Perry's, an hour ride, and then an hour ride back. Basically 3 hours of riding. That would work for me. But if I'm going out on I've used these shoveling snow too, where I was out there for 3 or 4 hours. You don't need to have it that your hands are red hot. What you need is that they're just not freezing cold. So by tinkering with this, I've learned a lot about how to make the most out of the electrical stuff that I have. And the gloves, these gloves have been great. I've got them this is going to be the 4th winter. The batteries are still good. You have to maintain the battery even in the summer and charge it every 2 months. I learned that the hard way. And the batteries are about 40 bucks a piece, so you really don't want to just throw $80 worth of batteries away. Now what happened to me is I was so happy with the weight of gloves, no wires. They were just warm enough. They were not as warm. There's many times when I had the ones running off the motorcycle battery, there was a 3-setting high, medium, low, and I'd have to put them on low. My hands were getting just a little too hot. I was just thinking, I'm just wasting the heat for nothing. Because again, I'm just trying to stay comfortable, not trying to be like sitting by the fireplace. If you want to ride a motorcycle and you want to feel like you're sitting by a fireplace, this may not be the answer. Maybe you just set your bike on fire or something. Anyway, I wanted to show this. This is information you can put right in the bank. Now, here's Tourmaster jacket. It's called Synergy 7.4 heated jacket. I've had it. This is the 4th season. I've had great results with this. I have ridden through super, super cold days. The 2 things not to do is, and you can't do with this because you have a limited, only 7.4 volts. It gets warm, but it doesn't get toasty by the fireplace warm. So here's what happens. It's got a real, like a flannel shirt like I wear, flannel shirt lining. Well, what's nice is if you put a real thin turtleneck, like you would go skiing with, the thin nylon, the ones that don't absorb sweat, and you're touching this to your skin during the ride, it's probably going to work great. Only one problem with that, and it's a big problem. If your battery goes dead, you're riding without, 3 or 4 sweaters. If you think the battery's going to go dead, so, of course, we're going into the battery thing next. So here's the thing I learned. A couple of times I went out on a ride, took my let me show the battery. Comes with a charger, comes with a battery. May as well take it out right now. And, of course, you look at the thing, lithium-ion battery, la, 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 la. You think, it's going to last forever. Boom, 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 you plug it in. Now, unlike the gloves, these batteries are not interchangeable. These are not, because I had the 2 battery gloves, I thought, if worse happens, I'll take. They don't interchange. You can't take the battery and plug it into this jacket. This, the one that goes to the gloves and looks exactly like this, by the way, what happens is, there's some controller or some electronics in here that controls it. This is just an on-off switch. It's on or it's off, and it shows you 100%, 75. Now, what has happened to me already, I just found this out the other day. It was really cold out. And what I typically use this for is when I go out early in the morning, I don't care. Once I'm out on a road for an hour, I don't care because I'm already built up some body heat and some. But it's that first hour that's really, I just want to warm. And then, of course, the temperature warms up later in the day. So the problem with this is if you go out with just that lightweight shirt under here and this battery goes dead, you're going to be cold on the way home, more than likely. More than likely. So I thought, well, this is a great thing. This battery's 3 years old, probably needs to be replaced. Here's where it gets tricky. Try to find this battery online. I went to Amazon, Dennis Kirk, all the people that sell Tourmaster stuff, and they show you the battery. It's $40 and a big red dot. Not available. So here I am with a jacket and a battery. Now the way I tested this when I bought the jacket, I did this test. I said, how long does this battery last? It's a good thing to do this test too. I plugged it in, put it on the high setting, which is, I'll show how this works. This is how you turn this jacket on. This turns it on to red. It's red. It's yellow. It's green. I don't know if you can see that. It's blue. Those are the 4 settings. We'll leave it on high. So what I would do, I'd go where I'm going to edit video. Put my hand on. Ooh, it's getting nice and warm. You can actually feel it get warm. Ooh, that's nice. Ooh. And I'd wait to see how long it stayed warm. And you can't tell by looking at the light because the light goes out just to save juice. But what happens is, in the beginning, it was going for an hour and a half. Oh, I said, this is great. That was fine for me. It did exactly what I wanted. But now I'm at the point where I want something even better. And let me explain what I've tried to figure out and how it's playing out so far. So the first thing to remember, the battery for the gloves, they look exactly alike. And you think, oh wow, Am I lucky? They look alike. Even the connectors look alike. Well, you know what? Sorry, they're not alike. And the one that plugs into the jacket is just a little bit different in length, that it does not make a connection when you use that battery, no matter what you're doing. And you can't really force it in anymore. I guess other than making special connectors, you're limited on that. So the information to know is if you buy a set of gloves or you buy a jacket, you can't buy a jacket and use these as the spare batteries. That doesn't work, at least with these two that I have here. So that I thought was valuable information to pass on, number one. Now this is one of my future projects. Not going to dive into it right now because it's a little involved, but my good friend John Pothier has found replacement batteries that are interchangeable with this and will be the right size, because you want that to fit in your pocket. And here's the bottom line, and this would not be the be-all end-all, but this is how it works. This battery is $40. If you have to pay shipping, say from a place not Amazon Prime, it's probably going to be closer to $50. So here is the problem. We found replacement batteries that two of them are $25, and that includes the charger. Now I'm not going to go into this right now because I'm going to rewire the jacket on a separate video, show how I did it, go out and test it, make sure I didn't set my house on fire or me, and then make that good information. But this basic information I think is worth sharing for a couple of reasons. It's really getting cold right now. And having that ability to, on the way to your first hour of ride, and say, gee, I'm a little chilly. A minute or two later, you're at least comfortable anyway. Another thing too that, again, I've used it for is when I go shovel snow, I put this under my jacket, put it on a medium setting, go out there all day and shovel. So, but the real bottom line to remember is this is not as powerful. You're not going to make the jacket as hot as you are with the 12 volt with the wire going to it. That's the biggest information I've learned over the years. And also when you have this, the battery has a limited life. Now this is 3 years old before it went bad maybe in the end of last year. But it's really not a big deal, but you've got to be aware that every time you charge and discharge this battery, you're using up some of the life of it. It's not a forever thing. And as I've learned with all my weed whackers and things that I have that I've electrified, lithium-ion batteries are great, but the problem is they, like anything else in life, there's a little bit of a price to be paid. And they're pricey. They're expensive. So I'm going to try to show on a future video how I can replace this with two batteries that together are less money than one, maybe a little more than half. So in effect, you could almost get 3 or 4 batteries. Then you could leave them on high. You get to the middle of the ride, just switch the batteries out, and you're done. So that's coming on a future video, maybe a week or 2 from now. John and I are working on it together, and I don't know exactly what the resolve is. We've got the parts on order, and I'll do it on video. I'll try not to leave out any steps, and I'll always, on my channel, try to share information that I think is worthwhile. And I think this information, for anybody who wants to extend their riding season, is worthwhile. So as I've said before, this is about sharing useful information. A lot of times you'd like to know this kind of information before you invest, say, $300 or $400 in electrified stuff. And some of the stuff is even more money. But again, I think there's rules of engagement. I think the older you get, the more appropriate this is. I don't think a 30-year-old person that stops riding on December 1st, this is not the be-all end-all. I don't know. But for somebody like myself, or somebody that wants to get that last ride of the year in, and that first ride of the year, and this allows you to do that. And I think you have to really be that enthusiastic about riding before this pays. But the other thing, and I'm learning about it, I don't claim to be an expert by far. Lithium-ion batteries are the devil that I don't know. So when they go bad, normally I would have just called up, hey, Tourmaster, pay the price, send me 2 more batteries, send me another battery. And then what happens when you buy a jacket, you better be sure, and this is the biggest tip to get off the video. You buy an electrified jacket with a battery, make sure you can get a spare battery. Because a year or 2 or 3 down the road, you're going to need the battery. And then a lot of times the company's going to say, oh, we've upgraded to the new model with the battery that looks like this, you know. It's like computers. They're always upgrading everything to where you got to spend money. Anyway, I hope the information on this video was useful. ride safe, ride warm, and when I get a chance to get this upgraded, I will be sharing what I learn. Now, as I said before, the purpose of our channel is to share things that we've learned, most of which we've learned the hard way, and some good quality basic information about motorcycling, and maybe about other things, polishing, painting, just to name a few. And we like to share the rides that we go on, as several videos of our rides, several videos of our friends all hanging out and making fun of each other, and in good humor, of course. I like to share my bike collection, and I have one bike from every 10-year period, and I try to maintain them. I try to share the videos of how to maintain them and some of the tricks I've learned that maybe you can save a few dollars on. Like, I don't have Jay Leno money, so I'm always trying to get the most bang for my buck, or the most mileage from whatever. But all of the information that I try to share is stuff that I have basically learned the hard way. None of this stuff is stuff that I've found you can just teach somebody in a half an hour on the internet. There's some really good quality information. There's over 2,400 videos, and we post something every day. So if you enjoyed the video, I hope you share it with your friends. And of course, I hope, most of all, that we'll see you tomorrow. And thanks again for watching.